All right, welcome in to the Naked Bootleg podcast. We're on episode 6, 5. What are we on?
6?
6.
Yeah, six
Oh,
is
man.
right.
We lasted longer than I thought. I'm proud of us. So today we're kind of celebrating the last week of most people's fantasy football prep. And what we're going to go over today is we each have 4 guys that you need to draft in order to win your league. And we're also going to go through 2 guys that you want to avoid this year. Otherwise, you're doomed for last place. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to discuss some of our players a little bit and hopefully have a few agreements, disagreements, some shenanigans is the hope. But first, let's throw it to Tyler Mitchell. You've got some news and notes from, week 3 of preseason?
Yeah, and actually there's kind of a good amount because teams have been making their cuts and things like that. So I'll try to go by position, and if you guys have anything to add after each one, just go ahead and holler. The first one for quarterbacks, the 49ers are keeping Jimmy G. So I don't know if you guys are high on Lance. Does that affect you guys about your opinion on him?
No, if anything, yeah, I was kind of eyeing Jimmy G in case he went to Seattle, or I've heard little rumors of Pittsburgh. But I don't think it affects Trey Lance's outlook.
You don't think he can get more likely to get benched if he doesn't do good the first couple games, or if they're not winning?
Kyle Shanahan has been saying Trey Lance is our guy from the onset. I think he's making it very purposeful. The whole thing is that San Francisco's under the cap, and so they don't need to cut him. So they're keeping him around, and I think that, if someone loses a starting quarterback, they have a little trade bait right there. But I don't think he's a threat to take Trey Lance's job.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he still got traded later, and I'm sure they just didn't want Seattle to get him. But yeah, so the next stuff is wide receivers. MVS, he just returned to practice after having a concussion. Chenault got traded from the Panthers to from the Jags to the Panthers. So I know you guys are all going to be getting him in your drafts now. Juju returned to practice. And then Deontay Johnson got hurt in the third preseason game with a shoulder injury, but it doesn't look like he's going to miss any time. And then Gallup, he was placed on the PUP list, or he's not placed on the PUP list, but he's still expected to miss at least the first week, maybe more. You guys have any thoughts on any of those players? Reactions? No.
I like Gallup. I think he's worth waiting for. So
I think so too, because there's no one else to throw besides Lamb on their team to throw it to, and Schultz. Yeah, and you can just place
Pollard.
Yeah, and you can that's true. But you can just place Gallup on your IR spot.
True.
I like Gallup. I've always picked up every year a few times, and he just disappoints me, even though there's less weapons, but he's burned me too many times.
Yeah, I get that. Running back, so unfortunately Brian Robinson got shot, but hopefully he'll be able to return at some point at the end of the season. I mean, I wouldn't be able to play football again. I'd be a girl and just wouldn't play. But so yeah, if you got Gibson in drafts, that could be a good thing for you.
that was the lucky thing, by the way. Is I'm in a bunch of drafts where people were picking Gibson and spending a bunch of money on him, and now they're going to be rewarded for this.
Yeah, that is frustrating.
Yeah, but Tyler, if you did get shot, you have a pretty fat ass, and that's where you got shot. So
that's true. I got the protection.
I have to say the way you said that, unfortunately he got shot. It's just, you don't sound too proud of it, I guess.
That's terrible.
I mean, hopefully you'll be able to come back and play and at least get some action this year, because that's just too bad. Najee Harris, he had actually a Liz Frank sprain in his foot earlier in the preseason, but he still played this past weekend. Does that worry you guys at all that he had that injury? I mean, he still played.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
you were already down on him. So
yeah, well, he was such a workhorse last year, and any signs of injury, I think it's scary for those workhorse backs. I've definitely heard that Pittsburgh is aiming to use him a little more conservatively this year. So if he has any sort of potential injury or something they want to nurse a little bit, that could really affect his his overall playing time. So that's something I'd probably want to be paying attention to going into the draft. I'd probably be unlikely to draft him in the first round, just with that information of less usage potentially and potential injuries as well.
Yeah. Texans release Marlon Mack, so Pierce just keep going up the draft board. Yeah, I don't know what his ADP is right now, but I'm sure it's gotten way up there.
Yeah, how high would you be comfortable? Any of you guys having Pierce as your second running back?
Not my second, no. Not on a Texans offense, even though he might get all the work. I heard, and I don't think he's going to get the third down receptions. I think Burkhead's going to get that.
Well, I
think
just
me and,
good.
I was going to say, I think me and Tyler were kind of high on him earlier, and then it just keeps moving up. Now I'm not quite as high on him because I think people are onto him now. So sucks when that happens.
He's at his all-time high in ADP throughout the summer. Just earlier this week, he was at 118. Now he's dropped to 94 overall ADP. So that just means 94 is probably not even accurate for where drafts are now. That's just like cumulative. So he's actually going a lot higher than that.
Yeah, because Ron's been talking about it for a while, so you can still get some credit for that, Ron. I think. I'm giving.
Well, it's like the Gabriel Davis for you, Mike. Like he's moved up to like in the 20s now, and he was in the 40s to start.
Wow. So yeah, the next thing is the Rams backfield. It looks a lot more of a mess than people I think thought because Darrell Henderson and Akers, they just returned to practice, but again, both are coming back from injuries. And then also Kyren Williams looks like might be the third down back. And it sounds like they might play all three guys because there's a quote from McVay that says, Williams did not play against the Bengals tonight because he's a guy that we anticipate having a big role for us. So does that, for you guys with Akers, does that kind of hurt your view on him? I would think.
Yes, big time.
Mike,
you're still a little in.
I'll save my comments for later.
Oh, one of your guys, all right.
I was high on him, and I've fallen off now. I can fall on the sword.
I'll say that I've been looking to avoid the Rams backfield all summer, and this extra news just kind of confirms that it's going to be a crapshoot. So, yeah, I'm out on that.
I've got in the both drafts I've done. I've got Henderson kind of late. I think it could be a decent idea if Akers isn't very good or hurt or whatever, and he could be the lead back, and the other guy could be the third down back. But because again, you're not spending too much draft capital on them. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, not spending too much high picks on these guys. There was 12 teams that called to trade for Alexander Mattison.
Wow.
So I mean that's a lot. I mean almost half the league. So he could be on the move.
Wow.
Well, 12 teams have called. Minnesota hasn't actually pulled the trigger on it. So, like, how high are they regarding him? I wonder.
Well, I mean, Cook always gets injured, and I mean, I don't know. Cook's 27, so I mean, it might be worth it for them to hold on to him till after this year and have him be the main guy. But I don't know.
It's probably smart on Minnesota's part because you hold on to him and you say, this is what I want, and then the first team to meet those expectations, they get him. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Dolphins cut Sony Michel, so maybe he'll go back to the Rams too and just make it backfield. So I guess that makes probably Mostert and Edmonds look a little bit better or feel better about them, maybe.
Yeah, I'd say I wasn't even really factoring in Sony Michel. I know he'd take a few carries here and there, but I didn't realistically think that he was much of a threat.
And then the last thing for running backs, the Raiders released Kenyon Drake, and then the Ravens just picked him up. So if you're a Dobbins owner, does that kind of worry, or fan, does that worry you? I mean, Drake sucks, but
I didn't even know that news. So thanks, Tyler.
Breaking news.
I don't think he's going to do much at Baltimore, but I think that moves the Raiders running backs up a little bit higher, especially the rookie.
And I'll say for the Ravens, I think it's probably more insurance just because Dobbins and Edwards are coming off the ACL tears. And it sounds like they're not back to 100%. So he could be more of an early season type of guy. So maybe that's something where, if Dobbins is just getting a little bit of run, maybe you could kind of buy low early in the season. So something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Drake just had that one good year, and that was kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so that was it for the news. So for the highlights from week 3 for the preseason, I'll just kind of go through each a position, and you guys can give your feedback. So for quarterbacks, Justin Fields had 3 touchdowns. Mayfield was 9 for 15 and had 2 touchdowns. And Winston was 4 for 4 with 59 yards and no picks. So that's definitely success for him, or no turnovers. You guys got any feedback or any kind of follow-ups for those?
The fact that we're celebrating Winston threw the ball 4 times without throwing it to the wrong team is pretty funny.
Dude, Winston actually, with all the weapons they might have, if Thomas is healthy, he could be all right, especially like deep in a super flex league or your second quarterback if you want to take the risk.
I agree.
Yeah, those deep quarterbacks are starting to look better, like Winston, and I mean Tua's even looked good in preseason, and Fields. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Fields, I really worry about their offensive line. From everything I've heard, Chicago's offensive line is horrible. Granted, he's mobile, so it's less worrisome that he's gonna just be taking sack after sack. But when you're on the run, you're out of your offense, that could lead to a lot of turnovers. So I'm a little nervous if he, in a 2-quarterback league, if he was my second quarterback, or even if I roll with him as my backup, regardless of the running you're going to get, he just seems like a big risk.
Yeah, I feel like in a 2-quarterback league, I'd be fine with him as my third, or a single quarterback league, have him with like a solid, good passer like Carr, Cousins, or Stafford or something. Have that upset guy. So that was it for quarterbacks. So wide receivers, this is a pretty big stat. Michael Pittman has seen a 35% target share in the games he's played with Matt Ryan so far. That's crazy amount.
Wow.
Devontae Parker was on the field for.
Look at Michael's smile.
Do you have Pittman in a lot of leagues, Mike?
No. So I shouldn't be smiling.
You were high on it.
Yeah.
He just like his YouTube channel. My 12-year-old talks about his YouTube channel all the time.
Oh,
So
he
that's
has
why,
one?
yeah. Apparently he's
Oh, really?
super popular. Gotta get with
What's
it.
his YouTube channel? What's he doing?
Talks and stuff. I don't know. I haven't watched it, but
He jumps.
yeah, maybe.
Probably got more views than we get.
Oh, by
We
100
should
times.
get him on here.
I'll
So the other thing, so Devontae Parker, he was on the field for nearly every snap with Mac Jones. Free tag, one of our guys in there. Keep really got to shout out to him. But he was targeted the most out of any of the receivers on 13 pass attempts. I mean, it's the Patriots passing game. I don't know if anybody's going to want any of those guys anyway.
I mean, maybe that affects if you're kind of eyeing Jacoby Myers. Maybe that makes a difference, but I don't know. That doesn't mean a whole lot to me.
You just stream a wide receiver.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Let's see. So Robert Woods, he was out there playing, so that's a good sign. Treylon Burke scored a touchdown. So do you think he could be like the Chase situation from last year, where everybody was kind of there's negative news about him? Now he's doing good. I mean, it's one game, one touchdown, but
Maybe, yeah.
I think the Titans wide receivers are really going underlooked, to be honest. I know they have Derrick Henry, so they're a run-heavy offense, but I think Robert Woods could surprise a lot of people. Treylon Burks sounds like he's going to be the number 2 or even split number 1 with Robert Woods. Those are 2 guys that I think are worth really paying attention to this year.
yeah, I mean, if I
for
hear,
the draft pick,
go ahead. I was gonna say, if I hear out of camp that he can't catch, I'll probably go try to draft him this year. Also, I guess the last thing for wide receivers was Hill had 64 yards with Tua. So there's been a lot of people worried about how Hill's going to do with Tua. I mean, it's a preseason game, but he had 64 yards, and he also there was a big catch in there too. So does that kind of get you guys a little more excited about Tua and Hill, or no?
Here at Callis, it's like, come on, let's hear it.
I did
Let's
not see a
Let's hear
highlight
it.
of this. How was it a 5-yard throw and then Hill just ran the rest of the way? What was it?
I didn't watch.
Probably.
I don't watch preseason games.
Ron, did you see it?
I think it was a deep throw if I remember right, but I do feel like I remember he did underthrow it a little bit, and Hill had to dive for it.
Oh,
but
yeah, he did underthrow it, yeah.
Yeah.
he had to like dive back.
My opinion has not changed. If I'm wrong, I'll admit it in the end, and I'll congratulate whoever drafted Tua.
I'll let you know, baby bird. I'll let you know.
I'm more willing to take Tyreek Hill than I would be to have Tua anywhere near my team. So I'll say that.
Fair enough. So yeah, running backs. This should make Mike happy. David Montgomery played, and he looked like he pretty much, with all the first team, he got pretty much all the snaps. Herbert saw most of the work with the second team after Montgomery was done. So, because I thought Herbert actually could eat or have more carries this year, but looks like maybe not.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Pierce had another good game. He had 6 touches for 37 yards and a touchdown. Obviously, Marlon Mack's not there, so one less guy to worry about. So, yeah, he looks like he's going to be the guy there. It looks like Kansas City, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been the only constant guy playing on first-team snaps, it seems like. He had the first 3 snaps of the night, and then he was done. I mean, so I don't know. Are you guys interested in any of the backup guys? I think they could overtake him, or Pacheco had some stuff earlier in this summer.
Is Ronald Jones much of a threat there?
I think he got dropped by the team.
I think they kept him. I think they kept him.
Oh, did
I haven't heard that.
They were close. It sounds like he was on the cusp of being cut.
I've taken Pacheco in some late picks just because I heard he could be just his talent alone is really good. But
God, it's so crazy because you would think the running back on Kansas City should be so good, but every year they just suck. And I mean, he has been awful the first 2 years and being an early first-round pick, but they just throw it when they're in there. They throw it to Kelsey or do something like some shovel pass thing, and the running backs haven't really turned out there. But it sounds like Zach Moss could be a big piece of the running game again for the Bills, because again, a lot of people have been thinking James Cook being drafted would be, and Singletary doing well last year, but it sounds like Cook could be the guy because he played well in the preseason. Are you guys avoiding the backfield altogether, I'm assuming?
Well, I'm not drafting it high. I mean, if anything, I'd probably take a chance on Singletary, but kind of like what Ron said with Michael Gallup, Singletary makes his way to my team every year. And every time I either play him the wrong weeks or I sit him the wrong weeks and I'm benching him or trading him. Or even worse, he'll just sit on my bench and take up a roster spot all year. I'd rather have more of a boomer bust guy spot. So it's unlikely, but it's a possibility.
Yeah. I guess the last thing is tight ends. And there's this one key one I kind of wanted to focus on because I honestly hadn't heard of him until I saw this. But Isaiah Likely, a rookie tight end for Baltimore, he's had a really good preseason. I think he just had 100 yards and a touchdown. Does that make you guys worried at all about Andrews? Or do you think they'll just play together and he'll be fine? Or
no,
I think it makes me think they could. Both their tight ends could end up leading them in receptions, maybe even more than the receivers. At least that's what they should do, I think, since they're so run heavy.
Yeah, maybe they'll go like Patriots offense, like with Hernandez and Gronk.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the news and preseason highlights.
Oh man, so good. Thank you.
That was a lot.
Yeah, it was.
You killed it.
Get a raise, or actually just get a job.
This is your job. We told you. It's funny. I just looked up. Devin Singletary was the second leading fantasy point scorer out of running backs from weeks 15 to 18.
Yeah,
so
I remember he was doing really good.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
I mean, Josh Allen's there.
Didn't you get rid of him by then?
I think he was already off my roster by then. Yeah, for sure. That's why I just have to avoid him altogether. It's just I'm never gonna get it right.
Yeah.
All right, are we ready to dive in?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
So we're talking about the guys you need to draft in order to win your league. That's what we're going for. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's a sleeper. It doesn't mean that it's just all the top guys, because of course if you can take all the first rounders, that's great. This is going through really like you need to find a way to get this guy on your team, and but it could be like it's just good value for the draft position. It could be I don't care what it takes. I want this guy on my team. So we can kind of explain ourselves throughout, but the idea is that they're going to be a little bit mixed all over the board of where they're being drafted currently. So Michael, we'll start with you. Who's the first guy on your list that you need to draft?
All right. I didn't put him in any particular order, but I'm going to start with Saquon Barkley. I'm going to steal him from Tyler. And number one reason, they have a new coach. I think it will be an improved offense. I still don't trust the quarterback play, really, but I think overall the offense is going to be better. My second reason for taking him is he'll get the bulk of the carries. I think, one, they don't have a lot of depth, but then they also he's in his fifth year, so the Giants put him on took the 5th-year option with him, and I think that makes me feel like they're actually going to give him the bulk of the carries. If he had more years on his contract, I think they'd be a little more cautious, but I think they're going to give him the bulk. And I mean, I know he's injury prone, but can you really be injured 3 years in a row? I feel like that's not possible. I hope it's not possible. Okay.
I feel the same way. I'm like, how can someone be that good be injured 3 years in a row? I mean, obviously it could happen, but like, I'm with you. I think because you can get him in like the 2nd, 3rd round, you don't have to take him in that 1st round now. And like the receivers there are so bad, he's probably going to be their number 1 catcher.
Yeah. I just stole that from you, Ty. I stole your notes. I think I found them online.
Bleacher Report.
Yeah.
Bleacher Report. That was a bad mistake.
Yeah, everyone's high on Saquon Barkley. And then Kamara, we've already talked about Kamara, so I won't go into a lot of depth, but just the suspension is looking like it won't happen this year. And then
Mike, you can't go through all your guys. We're gonna.
He loves someone so quick.
Oh, are we doing that? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
He loves him so much he wants to go through them all now. I like it.
Going with Barkley real quick, he's being drafted RB13, right around 19 or 18, 19 overall ADP. So likely would be a 2nd-round pick for him. Like right around him is Josh Allen, Travis Kelce, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill. Personally, I maybe would take a chance on one of those other guys if I got a running back in the 1st round. But if I didn't, then I would probably roll with Barkley.
I think with Barkley, this is all about your risk level. Like, do you want to play it safe or take the risk?
Go all in, yeah.
I think he's finally worth his value at least. Like the 1st-round pick was never worth it, and at least he's finally fallen to like the end of the 2nd round. So
that's a good call. Yeah. Okay, so Alvin Kamara, since you already jumped the gun,
Sorry.
did you have more to talk about with him?
Not really, no.
What are any thoughts here?
Well, I'm high. I'm high on him too, and so I think he's worth the risk.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm still a little worried about the video coming out at some point or something happening, but I think for the most part, it seems like it's probably going to be any suspension will happen next year. But yeah, I mean, I think he's a good value right now. He's usually a top 5 guy going 2nd round. That's pretty great.
Yeah, I see him. He's ADP about 13, 14. He's RB9, and I actually like him better than the few running backs right ahead of him with Nick Chubb, DeAndre Swift, Najee Harris. I think he's more solid as long as he's not suspended. That's the caveat.
I would say the one thing to worry about is that if he does get suspended, it sounds like it's going to be late in the season now, and that could be playoffs for fantasy. So that would really suck.
Yeah, that's a good call out.
Yeah, I think just important get Ingram if you get him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good call.
If Ingram's even the guy, I know that they drafted a rookie too. Don't remember his name, but pay attention to who's early in the season of who's getting extra carries. All right, Ron, let's go. Who's a guy that you need to draft to win your league?
Yeah, I've talked about him a few times, but I'm still all in on Jalen Hurts. He finished QB6 last season. That's without A.J. Brown, and that's with Devontae Smith coming on into his 2nd season. He averaged 57.9 yards rushing up until his final 3 games, and he only averaged 29.7 because of an ankle sprain. So if he would have kept that up, he would have finished higher. He ran for 784 yards and 10 touchdowns last year, so he's going to run the ball a ton. They have one of the best offensive lines in the entire NFL. So I just like him more than where he's going. So he's going typically after Joe Burrow and Kyler Murray, but I feel like he provides like way better upside than those two. So I just think if you're going to go for a quarterback, go for him, kind of in the middle there.
I didn't know their offensive line was so good. So
yeah, it's loaded.
Like top 5 or something.
I didn't see the overall stats. I just read the names of the guys, and I've heard of them, so I know they're good.
Yeah, I think
more than me.
Go ahead, Mitchell.
Oh, I was just thinking for Hurts too. Like this is really a sophomore year because his first year he barely played. Last year was really his rookie year, so it's just really his 2nd full season, and then also his 2nd season in that offense. And I think he'll be a better thrower too from the more playing time. So yeah, I'm with you, Ron. I like Hurts a lot.
One other positive note, I think, is that Philadelphia, I'm hearing some sleeper buzz with them of, potential Super Bowl team. So, if they're winning a lot of games, and obviously that means he's going to be playing well. So with the offensive line, like you talked about, I think there is a lot of potential there. I think the thing that worries me is, a great fantasy quarterback. Is he actually a good quarterback that's going to lead your team? And in Philadelphia, they're usually not very forgiving with guys who are not on a winning team. So if the season goes south, that's where I'd worry. But I think he's worth the risk. I think it's a good choice.
And I think they got one of the easier schedules too, so hopefully that'll help.
Yeah, and he led them to the playoffs last year. No one expected anything out of him. So
Mm-hmm.
In that division sucks.
I heard there's pretty much no chance he's getting benched this year.
And he doesn't seem like a guy who's. I know he runs, but he doesn't seem like a guy who's going to get hurt. Like he's going to. I know. I can't believe I said
It might hurt other people.
Yeah. All right. I'll go next, and I'll stick with the quarterback train here. I think you need to draft Lamar Jackson this year, and I know that there's some.
That makes me happy.
Some differing thoughts with that. Yeah, I'm glad you're happy with that. And here's some of the reasoning why is that Lamar, he's had kind of a down season last year, and I know he's lost his main weapon, Marquise Brown, or I guess Mark Andrews is his main weapon, but we all know his biggest weapon is his legs, and he can kind of take the hit and move on from there. So you're going to get such a good baseline with just his running totals that it's not gonna you're not gonna have one of those bottom out kind of weeks. So he's gonna be consistently good and solid. What I just saw, I'm not as in love with his latest ADP at 44 and QB3, but if you can get him after Mahomes, potentially Hurts, or if someone wants Brady or someone like that earlier, that's a no-brainer to me. One other piece is that you could potentially get an extra pick down the line where you wouldn't even need to take a quarterback, because I think if he was going to be out, you can replace him with Tyler Huntley, and I think that's a pretty solid backup to plug into that offense.
You love Huntley.
I do.
Yeah, he did great for you last year.
Yeah, he played well. It's a similar type of offense. He's not going to struggle to understand what to do. It's a potential that you could earn an extra roster spot as long as no one's handcuffing. It sounds weird to handcuff your quarterback, but it's just a thought, I guess, if you don't love your backup quarterback options.
I think you're just trying to get me to take Huntley in our keeper league behind Jackson to waste a roster spot. I see.
Let's see if it works.
No, I like Jackson obviously because I think he has a high floor, and then obviously the ceiling, you'd be the number one guy.
I guess I'm the one person that's never.
Too. I'm really high on Lamar.
Yeah, Lamar. I guess I'm the one person that's not high on him. I've just never have been, and maybe it's just what Cal said. Like, you can plug in Tyler Huntley, and he's almost as good. Like, I don't know. I'm just not high on him. Going fourth overall in every site. Just I would rather take somebody that's like 6th or 8th when you can get him like 3 or 4 rounds later. So I don't know.
Yeah. All right, Mitchell, who's your guy?
So I guess I'll keep going with the quarterbacks. My guy is Derek Carr, and I think the biggest thing is because you could take him so late, and he's always throws for a lot of yards. But I think this year, obviously, just getting Adams, his touchdowns are going to go up. He's always had injured wide receivers and tight ends, so hopefully this year they'll be healthy. So I think with Waller and Adams, his touchdown rate will go up, and then obviously he has Renfro. So I think those 3 targets, and he's going to get a lot. The yards will be there, and then I think playing in the AFC West, they're going to be having a lot of shootouts and probably playing from behind a lot. So I think he's going to have to throw. So Carr is he's definitely one of the guys I like getting later if you're waiting on quarterback.
Mitchell, in a 1 quarterback league, you'd feel comfortable having him as your starter?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably pair him with like a later guy like that can run like Lance or Fields. But I mean, if I was really good at all the other positions and he was my later guy, I mean, I think I'd feel fine with it because I feel like he's just as good as the guys going like just a little bit above him, like Rodgers and Stafford. And I mean, all those pocket passer guys, his stats are, I mean, pretty nearly identical if he gets the touchdowns.
Yeah, I like that one. And I don't know where they rank as far as pass attempts, but I hope they increase the pass attempts now that they have Adams and rush a little less. But
Yeah, I think their running game's going to not be very good. It sounds like their offensive line for running is not very good. And I mean, I just think they're just going to have to throw a bunch because with those guys, with Adams and Waller and Renfro, and then being in the AFC West and being down a lot or in shootouts, I just can't imagine they're not going to have to throw a lot.
Yeah, I like that one too. I think him, Cousins, and Trey Lance are like better than the guys above them. So if you can get any of those guys, I think as a backup, that's definitely even possibly a starter. I guess that's solid for where they're going.
Yeah,
safe pick.
Yeah.
All right, Michael. Who else do you have?
Do you want to skip me this time?
No. You'll just be. We'll end with you. Go ahead.
Pull up my notes here. I got Gabriel Davis. We've talked about him a little bit already, but Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders are gone. They had 184 targets combined. I know they have that slot receiver. I think McKenzie, the rookie. So I know he'll take some of those, but I still think Davis will get a good majority of those targets left over. And then my second reason is just get a chance to be a part of the Bills' offense because they're so good. They scored 29.8 points a game last year. They ranked third as far as points, fifth as far as pass attempts per game last year, and that's probably just going to continue this year. So his ADP is rising, but I still think he's a bargain even at the ADP he's at.
Did McKenzie get injured?
Sure.
What? It wasn't in my news and notes, so no. I don't know.
It looks like Davis is going about 70th overall, wide receiver 29. So right around him, Marquise Brown, Amari Cooper, Brandon Cooks, Devontae Smith. You like him better than all those guys?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I think with those guys, he has more upside than those guys do.
Well, I mean, he had what? Did he have 5 touchdowns in one game last year and then 4 in another? So, I mean, this potential is insane. But yeah, I did see Isaiah McKenzie got injured after a hit. I don't know if it was serious or not, but he was idle in the last game, it said.
Oh, shoot.
But I like what you're saying about just the Buffalo offense, just getting a guy on.
Getting a piece of it.
In a later round, even though I was already talking about Devin Singletary and avoiding him. But I think receivers, any pass catchers are going to be a little safer with Josh Allen at quarterback. All right, Ron, you're up.
Yeah, my next guy is going to be Chase Edmonds. So I'm going to just keep going with my Dolphins. So I know you said you're not high on Sonny Michel, but I think his fantasy stock took a boost with Sonny Michel leaving. Michel did play a decent amount with the Rams last year. They still have a crowded backfield, but Edmonds is clearly the superior talent. I mean, Gaskin failed to prove himself as any sort of starter last year. He was horrible. Raheem Mostert's played 11 games or less in 5 of the last 6 seasons, including 9 games in the last 2 seasons. He's also 30 coming off a major knee injury, so he might be a factor early, but he's going to bow out at some point. So Edmonds owned 13.4% of target shares last season, which was 7th among running backs. He averaged 1.65 yards per route run, which was 9th out of running backs, and he averaged 5.7 yards per touch, which is 7th among running backs. So if you just look at all those numbers, he's really talented. And they're going to be in a new high-powered offense that's supposed to be exactly what San Francisco's is. So I see maybe him struggle. You might not want to play him early in the year, but I think at least halfway through the season, he's going to be like a really valuable running back. So I'm pretty high on him this year.
It's weird hearing Dolphins and high-powered offense, but I think I'm with you on Edmonds though. Like I think where you're getting him and what he could be, I think it's a good late pick.
Yeah, me too. Ron always convinces me of people, so I just believe you. You're just so convincing. But no, Edmonds, the Michel news was big, I think, actually, because I saw Michel as more of a threat than Mostert, if I'm saying his name right, because he's going to get injured, guaranteed, after 2 games. So it's like Michel was really the only competition. I don't see Gaskin's competition, so I'm totally I like him as a late pick now. So I'm ready to steal him from you, Ron. I just kidding.
Well, he's going 26, but I don't think he'll do much at the beginning of the year is the thing.
I think Mostert is more of a threat than you guys do, but I totally understand the injury concerns. But Mostert's coming with the head coach over from San Francisco, so I think that could be a concern. But you might bring up a good point there, Ron, where just wait it out. At some point Edmonds will become the guy. It's just tough to do that in fantasy football to have a guy who's not producing. So potentially that could be another one to kind of poach off of someone else's team if he's underperforming earlier in the year.
And he seems like one of those guys that doesn't need like a lot of touches because he's pretty efficient and gets, big play stuff. So
I would say that's his biggest concern. He's never really gotten a lot of touches, and that's kind of concerning.
And Ron, I think you overstated Mostert's games. I think he said 9, but it wasn't last year. It was like the first or second quarter he was out for the season.
First touch.
I said 9 in the last 2 years. So
yeah, it was insanely.
Most of that was
it was
1
insanely
year.
early. Yeah. Okay, I will go next. My next one, and I've gone back and forth on this, but I think Rashad Penny is the guy to draft, and obviously Kenneth Walker III being there is the number one concern. Chris Carson is retired; he's out of the picture. Russell Wilson not being there, I know it can potentially hurt just because they might stack the box a little bit more, but the way that Rashad Penny, and maybe I just like the injured guys. I just believe in the talent. That must be the case. But I think you guys all know this. Rashad Penny led all running backs in fantasy points the last 4 weeks of the season. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was on fire to end the season. But obviously the
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, well, that was when Wilson came back, and he was healthy. That makes obviously a huge difference. But with rookie running backs, when there's already an established starter, it just doesn't seem that it happens so often that someone's going to supplant them in the pecking order when the other guy proved himself to be such a talent the year before. So maybe almost the opposite of the Chase Edmonds argument is that maybe Penny is starting off hot, and that could be a sell high person if you get a little bit worried about he's gotten too many games without getting hurt, or if Kenneth Walker is starting to get a few more carries here and there. But it feels weird to say you can win your league early in the season, but I think that's a guy you can draft and hopefully try to sell high on, week 6, week 7, week 8, something like that.
Are you worried that like they might give Walker carries just so Penny doesn't get hurt or increase the chance of him not getting hurt, even though he's a rookie, like having like a split?
No, if he's splitting or taking more carries from Penny, then yeah, that becomes concerning. But there's only a couple backfields out there where it's not some sort of split. Yeah. So, the hope would be that Penny's still on the field for 60 to 70% of, normal downs, I guess, not counting like third down situations or third and long situations. So
I like where you can get him. I just think he's going to get hurt and their team's going to suck. So he's going to at some point get more carries. So I'm not a Penny guy, but where you get him is fine.
Well, and I guess I should say that I've seen as high as number 63 overall, RB 26, but I've also seen him as high as number 38 in some different polls. So if he drops, no, 38. Sorry, as low. Maybe I'm saying the wrong way. As low as the RB 38.
Okay.
You convinced me a little bit. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think he's a good value, and I actually like what you said about like the first half of the year. Like I could see if Walker doesn't play a lot those first 4 games, I could see people dropping him, and you could maybe pick him up if you have Penny. So
yeah, you convinced me a little bit. I've never been that high on him, but the more I thought about it too, Pete Carroll is usually a one running back guy. So if you get that workload early, that's a good point. You could trade him and get some value for him early. So.
But of course, it's a risk because who knows? You can come out week 1 and Kenneth Walker's out there way more. And it's like, oh, what did I just do? But hopefully it's not super high. Yeah. Okay, so maybe we kind of go a little more lightning round for the rest of the way. Michael, go ahead.
Lightning round. Okay, let me pull up the notes. I got Juju. He is same type reason as Gabriel Davis. I just want a piece of Kansas City's offense. So they had almost 30 points a game, just like the Bills. They were third in pass attempts last year. I think that continues even without Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill left, leaving 159 targets, and I think Juju will get a good portion of that. The rest of the receivers are really cheap too, so I'm kind of high on the whole receiving core, but I'm highest on Juju as of now.
I'm coming around a little bit more on him. I was, when we first started doing this a few weeks ago, I was kind of out on Juju, and I think so he was in Pittsburgh's offense where Big Ben had, a noodle arm. They were playing him more in the slot than where he more belongs on the outside. And Kansas City improved their offensive line. So I think you can get a lot of value. And if Mahomes has good protection, I mean, anything can happen. So I like that pick there.
I feel like either him or Moore are going to blow up, and it's just I just don't know which one at this point. I don't believe in Hardman or Valdez Scantling at all.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Same.
Yeah, Hardman, get out of here. I can't take that guy. All right, Ron, who do you have up next?
So I got Cortland Sutton. So I've been pretty high on him. He averaged 13.8 fantasy points between like weeks 2 and 7 last year. That's with a run-heavy offense and Bridgewater being your quarterback. So Bridgewater can't throw a deep ball, but the good thing is Sutton was finished in 7th in air yards last year, so he's always going deep. And he actually ironically finished between Tyler Lockett and DJ Metcalf in air yards.
Mm-hmm.
And Russell Wilson's his new quarterback. So Russell Wilson has the 6th highest passer rating of throws 20-plus yards down the field. So I just feel like he's going to get a ton of deep balls. I just see a huge year for him as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I like Sutton. He's currently going about wide receiver 25 according to this list. Yeah, it's pretty good value for someone who's could be unleashed. But him or Judy, or does it matter? Like, is it going to be more Seattle offense?
I don't think it matters either.
Yeah,
especially with Patrick out.
Yeah. I like it. All right, Mitchell.
Let's see. So AJ Dillon, his body, it's amazing. Legs, no, for real, I think I saw a stat where the second half of the year last year, his stats were just as good as Aaron Jones in terms of yards and touchdowns. Aaron Jones he's a little older and he always gets dinged up. And I think Green Bay is really going to have to rely on the running game and defense this year because, look who has Rodgers has to throw to. Nobody. So, and it seems like I think Dillon's a better pass catcher, too, than he gets credit for. And he's a touchdown machine. And so I like Dillon a lot this year.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I've been avoiding Aaron Jones just because of where you can get Dillon later.
Yeah, same.
Where's his ADP? Have you seen that?
I'm sure his ADP has gone up as the summer's gone on, but I'm not sure where it's at.
Oh, right here. He's going 45th, RB 24. So
yeah, and I think
split carries.
I'm actually okay with him as my second running back.
Yeah, and I think with Adams gone, he's going to be one of him and Jones for the red zone probably for touchdowns.
Just feels so risky with the guy ahead of him. I know you guys are kind of giving some good counter arguments on why Aaron Jones is not the guy.
I think they'll use Jones more as a receiver too, and have both of them play at the same time probably sometimes.
I probably would not take the risk with him as my RB2, to be honest. I'm not saying it's a bad pick, but a little too risky for that.
We need some disagreement. So
yeah.
I think if you're going on all the other positions, if you're going like trying to get good wide receiver, quarterback, tight end, and he's your second one, I think that's all right.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what your team is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that'd have to be one where if he doesn't get in the end zone or if Jones is, they're riding him, you're going to get a low fantasy number and be able to live with that where, maybe the next week he gets a couple, 2-yard plunges into the end zone. Just a little more boomer bust potentially. All right, who's up next? Is it me or is it Michael? I think it's me. Well, I'll go another Green Bay player. I'm going Allen Lazard. And this, it's obviously he's been there. He knows Aaron Rodgers, and I normally pay no attention to what quarterbacks say in the preseason because they'll build up their teammates just because that's what they do in the media. Rodgers is kind of a different cat out there. So the fact that he's actually praising Lazard and he's a little upset with some of his rookie receivers makes me think that there could be some sort of connection there. Lazard's going number 82 overall, wide receiver 37. So for that value, it could be your third wide receiver, and he's the number one guy for a quarterback who's thrown something like 50-something touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions. Wait, more than that. He's thrown 60 or 70 touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions the last 2 years. So just the offense there has to be someone that he's going to throw to and someone that he trusts. And I think he goes to those guys. So it's a value pick based on the offense, the pedigree, and just the familiarity.
Yeah, I agree with him as a value. I kind of worried with Adams being gone that he's going to be a hard time getting open because he's going to have to go against number one safeties and corners and stuff like that. And I think they're going to, again, focus on the running game. But I think as a wide receiver 3, he's fine. But I just don't think he'll have much of a ceiling.
Mm-hmm. I think Rodgers can fit the ball into tight spots though too. So if he can't get as open, I still think Rodgers got pinpoint accuracy. Sorry, go ahead, Ron.
I was just gonna say Rodgers has produced a wide receiver 1 his entire career, so at the least I feel like Lazard bumps up to at least a wide receiver 2, possibly where he's going, but I don't know.
Michael, any thoughts?
I like it. I like everything about it.
All right, then give us. Oh, you've already been through all your guys?
I have, yeah.
Okay. All right, Ron, go ahead.
So the last guy I got to stick with the New England running backs. So he's coming off a good rookie season, actually. I kind of feel like it's been a little underrated. He was in the doghouse for a while with Belichick. It's really hard to get out of that, but he did. So he ended the season really strong. He actually finished as Pro Football Focus's 3rd highest graded running back in the league. So he finished as the running back 25, so 8 spots behind Damien Harris, even though he's in the doghouse. So he's clearly more talented. He averaged 5 yards per touch and finished in the top 10 at tackles evaded, and he didn't even play like a ton. So all that considered, I just think he's gonna. There's been news coming out that he might be the third down back as well. So I think it's kind of only a matter of time before he takes over the main downs, and then hopefully he keeps that 3rd down spot. And I think he'll be the running back 1 by the end of the year there.
What is Pro Football Focus grading? His looks, his.
They just do like advanced stats to try to figure out like talent.
Gotcha.
I don't know what.
I like all the stats you share. Yeah.
Got to do it, man. I don't know what I'm talking about. Somebody else does it.
You got to have one person on here that does stats.
I mean, I'll just say the whole New England offense, I will be surprised if I end up with many Patriots on any of my teams this year. But I think your arguments that you're making are all really good. Still feels like a little bit of a risk, but if you can get him, like, what did you say his ADP was, or which?
I don't know what his ADP. He's actually starting to move ahead of Harris as the. But
if you can get him later, though, I think I like that. RB35 is what I see.
I mean, he was last year and he's going to 35 this year, so. Without James White.
Oh yeah, he's gone. Good point.
Yeah, White retired. Yeah, I think he's the only one on New England I would want. Like, if I had to pick a player for where he's going to, I think it's a good deal. Because they're always like top 10 or 12 and running backs doing well. So, I mean, I agree with that one.
Well, I'll jump in with the running back 36. It's Cordarrelle Patterson. And it feels funny to say, like, this is the guy you need to draft because he's been around how long, he's disappointed for how many years, and then all of a sudden last year he busts out. But we all know that the Falcons are probably going to be horrible this year. But someone's got to carry the ball. Someone's got to catch the ball. I think Mariota's, with Patterson's pass catching past, he can be an option out of the backfield. And he was explosive last year. And I know he's 31 years old, so it's a little scary to go with a running back that's anywhere around 30. And I know they drafted the rookie running back out of BYU. Michael, do you know how to say his last name?
Algier.
Is it Algier? But from what I've read, he's not as much of a threat to take over early in the season. So with the value that he's bringing and just his overall athleticism, to me, it feels like a great pick. I'm hoping that I can get him on multiple teams this year just for his pure versatility and the fact that My bet is, I mean, maybe Drake London will get some pass catches, but other than that, it's going to be a lot of Kyle Pitts, a lot of Cordero Patterson, and a lot of Mariota getting sacked this year. So just kind of banking on him being one of the guys that leads that offense.
Yeah, I like that pick because I think, like you said, Pitts and London will probably get most of the attention, and he can do kind of what he did last year. And wasn't he like eligible to play both running back and wide receiver?
Yeah, and haven't seen Michael. You've done
much.
about 49 drafts so far.
Yeah.
Do you know if Patterson is eligible both at running back and wide
I thought
receiver?
he was just running back, but I could be wrong.
Well, if he has dual eligibility,
But
that's even more reason to draft him.
I want to just disagree with you for the sake of disagreeing.
Please do it.
Don't target Patterson. And it's funny you said Penny because Penny and Patterson, I think they go kind of close to each other. And I think just Penny in comparison, he's going to get a lot more touches. I mean, he has a chance of getting, 200 plus rushing. I think Patterson is going to have possibly like around 100 rushing attempts on the year. I just don't see him having a lot of rushing attempts. I think if in a PPR league, maybe he'd be worth getting. But if it's not a full PPR league, I'd just avoid Patterson.
You think because they're going to be playing from behind?
I don't think, if anything, I think he'll split rushing attempts. I think he'll be more of a third down back. Maybe not at the start of the year, but I think midway through the year, he'll just be more of a third down guy.
All right. I appreciate you disagreeing with me.
Yeah.
The main thing that I don't necessarily disagree. The only thing I'd be concerned about is I could see them tanking this year, and at some point being like, "This is a 31-year-old running back. Let's just play the rookie and see what he brings to the table." But
yeah, Patterson clearly is not their running back of the future. So yeah, that's a good counter argument.
He could be one of those guys if he starts off well and before they start doing really bad, maybe trade him, get something for him.
Yeah.
But at that point in the draft, why not swing for the fences, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. All right, Mitchell, I think you have the last guy.
I've only given two guys, but it's all right. I think so. One of them is Christian Kirk because he got that big contract by the Jags. I think it was like 4 years for 70-something million. And I mean, there's just nobody else there. Marvin Jones is the other wide receiver, and that's pretty much all they got. I mean, ETN can catch passes out of the backfield, but they're going to be down a lot, and their offense should be better with Meyer obviously gone. I think Lawrence will take a step and get better. So I like Kirk. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm high on Kirk too. I think just being the number one option there, that season couldn't have gone much worse for Trevor Lawrence. I think it's a good pick. He's going wide receiver 42, so I think you get great value out of that.
Yeah,
he looked really good. He looked really good in training camp or preseason too. I mean. Yeah,
and you can take him so late if it doesn't work out, no big deal.
I wish I would have picked some of these guys. You guys should have done this video earlier. Pick Kirk more.
You're part of the video, Mike.
Yeah.
Mitchell, give us your last guy. Sorry, we didn't mean to skip you.
I guess I'd get either Dalton Schultz and Marquise Brown. I think Schultz is because all the opportunities he's going to have with Cooper gone, and he did well last year, and he's not splitting reps with the tight end this year like he did last year for a lot of it. And then I think Marquise Brown because, him and Murray have a good connection back in college, and then Hopkins is out the first 6 games, and I think Arizona's offense is better than Baltimore's and better throwing offense with Murray. So I like at least his first 6 games. If he does really good, maybe you can trade him. Obviously, managers might know Hopkins is coming back. He might not be as good, but Hopkins could also take attention away, and Brown can not get that number one attention anymore. But those are the two guys I like kind of going later for tight end and wide receiver.
You're crazy.
I'm not as high on Marquise Brown. I just think he's one of those guys. Yeah, he can run fast, but not a lot of other skills that translate over to good fantasy points to me.
I think just with the targets he's going to get there with Hopkins being out of the first 6 games and Kirk gone, Rondale Moore and Green, that's like all they got. So, and Murray can throw really well. So
it hurts.
The more I thought about it, the more I like it because I feel like he got open when Lamar was scrambling around and getting open, and then Lamar doesn't even throw that good of a ball like compared to Kyler Murray, and he scrambles around and can throw deep also. I like it.
That's good.
That's true.
He'll be really good the first 6 games. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting what happens when Hopkins comes back.
All right. There you go. Those are the guys you need to draft to win your league. Let's go quick through a few guys to avoid this season. Michael, you want to go first here?
Sure. I'm just going to give you both of them just
Yeah,
for
let's do both.
speed's
Let's
sake.
all do both. Yeah.
I have Aaron Jones and Tyler Lockett. Aaron Jones, we already talked about Dylan. I think Dylan's the obvious choice since Aaron Jones is like a second-round pick and he is not even a workhorse. So Tyler Lockett, horrible offense. He's the number 2 receiver. There's no way their quarterback can support 2 receivers. So that's just laughable. Just drop him, even though I love Lockett as a person.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the Lockett one. Aaron Jones, like, I'm with you. It just depends on where he goes. But I'm not. He's someone I'd rather get in the third round than the second round, like later third round. But he's not going to be going there. So I'm with you on those two.
I'm avoiding both of those guys, so I agree.
I would take Lockett. I'll take a chance on him later in the drafts. I think that he had a little bit of a connection with Geno Smith still. If it's Drew Lock, then no, I'm out. Just for the record. All right, Ron, you want to go next?
Yeah, keep it with the Seattle receivers. I want nothing to do with DK Metcalf at this point, where he's going in the drafts with whoever the quarterback is. I don't really care. It's not Russell Wilson. So, I mean, I just like the guys that are going a little bit after him. So, for example, you got DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, Deontay Johnson, Mike Williams, Michael Thomas, Chris Godwin. I'll take almost any of those guys over Metcalf at this point. So, just not high on him. And then I'll continue with I'll do my second one too. At this point, I was gonna say I did have David Montgomery, but he did look good in the last preseason game, so I kind of switched it up. I'm gonna go with Deebo Samuel. He finished as the wide receiver 2 last year. 30% of his value came from rushing. He already came out and said he doesn't want to be a running back this year, so that's just gonna kill his fantasy value. Trey Lance is a running quarterback, so I just don't see Deebo getting those opportunities. And then word out of camp is Ayuk looks more talented, so I am completely out on him.
I'm going the opposite on that. Brandon Ayuk sucks. I hate him. He killed me last year. And I know Deebo, yeah, he's definitely not going to rush the ball nearly as much this year based on everything that he said. Obviously, Trey Lance is a totally different quarterback. But rookie, or I guess it's not a rookie, but first-year quarterbacks, I think they typically depend on the talent, and I think that Deebo will find a way to get open. And being drafted wide receiver 9 so far this year with Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, AJ Brown, Keenan Allen, I think that Deebo has potentially the most talent, and I think Trey Lance could have a big year. So it's betting a little bit on that. I'm the other way. If Ayuk has a good year, at least I called it just a year late. But I think Deebo will put up some numbers.
Like one of those guys has to be left out. It's like they got Kittle, they got Deebo, and Ayuk. It's like there's no way all 3 of them are going to be good. I don't know who's going to be out though.
And I'll say, Ron, with DK, I still love him, but being drafted 15th overall for the wide receivers, that's far too high. But if for some reason people in your draft are still scared, if he can drop into the 20s for wide receivers, then I think he's worth a gamble.
That's crazy. He's still going 15th.
I know. I thought he was going to be later. I was going to have a good argument for that, and then I was like, oh wait, I can't really argue that. He is dropping though, because his high for overall pick was 27, and now he's at 41 overall. So he's dropping on the boards.
After our drafts, he'll move further down.
Probably. All right, Mitchell, you want to give us your guys to avoid?
Yeah, my guys. I mean, we kind of talked about their situations on their teams already, but Cam Akers, kind of really don't need to say a whole lot more about him. I feel like because we talked about Henderson and their situation earlier, and then kind of talked about it already. But Aaron Rodgers, I mean, I still think he's still great. I think he'll still be okay, but just not like that top guy that he's been. Just with the wide receivers they have, I think they'll focus more on running the ball and defense. But those are my 2 guys.
Only like once in the last 5 years or so has Rodgers been outside top 10 fantasy quarterback.
Was that when Adams was gone? Or?
I don't remember which year it was. So yeah, I know it could be that he doesn't have a top receiver, and that's what you're banking on, and he's 38. But I'm a little bit in like Tom Brady mode with Rodgers, where it's like just show me that you can't do it anymore, and that's when I'll give up. But,
yeah, and I get it. I think Cousins and Carr. I think the reason I say is they'll go later than him. I think, and I think their stats will be just as good as his this year.
Yeah, no, that's a
like-
good point. That's a good point.
Because I think, like you said, there'll be at least one or two people that still want to take him at a good price in drafts, and so.
Yeah,
kinda-
Rodgers is going QB8, and Carr is going QB14. Cousins going QB15. So yeah, I agree. I'd rather take those guys later.
8 is way too high.
Yeah, than him at 8.
I
You guys have
think
any
I'm the
thoughts
only
on this?
believer in. Oh, sorry, I was switching to Akers.
Oh,
Sorry,
go
you
ahead.
can finish your thought.
No, go ahead.
Oh, we're good.
I was gonna say I think I'm the only believer in him still, but I mean everything you guys have said about Akers, I agree with. So he is going down on my list, just not as quickly as everyone else's. I feel like his ADP has taken into account the fact that he's splitting carries. So I mean, I've seen him start to drop pretty far in the draft. So I'm still happy with him. I haven't picked him in too many. I have only have him in one league, but I think I'll probably pick him in a couple more just because he'll be so low. But
Like honestly, how many leagues do you do? Like, do you even see your family?
I think no, I don't really care about my family. I think I only have 11. I think I had 11 last time, so I haven't done any in a couple.
Well, he has time to make babies still, so.
yeah, good point. How do you keep up on that? There's no way.
The
Okay, I'll
waivers would be
get.
tough.
What's that?
Oh, the waiver wire would be tough. Like doing those.
Okay, so I'll go through my two. My first one's DeAndre Hopkins. This is probably going to be relatively obvious, but he's going number 48 and he's wide receiver 17. He's going to miss 6 games, and then when he comes back, he was still hobbled for quite a bit last year too. So he's becoming a little more fragile. I just can't imagine taking a guy knowing that he's going to miss at least 6 games, and based on his track record, he might miss another game or two as well. That's close to half the season at that point. It's just too big of a risk to waste such a high draft pick on a guy who is just not going to be playing. And who you're missing, who's right around him: DK Metcalf, Deontay Johnson, Mike Williams, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore. I'd much rather have any of those guys. Even take a chance on Michael Thomas rather than wait out DeAndre Hopkins. So I'm not much of a believer, and I think that taking a pick like that can really cost you down the line, because then you also have to stash someone on your bench, because I don't think you can even put him in IR or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree. And he wasn't even like that great last year. Like, he seemed like he was not the same player. And I don't mind if you're obviously taking the double-digit rounds, like one of your last few picks before you take a defense or kicker. But yeah, like you said, he takes a roster spot for 6 weeks, and I mean, at least he's not coming back from an injury, so he'll at least be healthy and everything. But I understand. I get you.
Yeah. My other one is Nick Chubb. So he's going number 9 overall, RB number 6. To me, with the Watson situation, they're going to stack the box on Jacoby Brissett. Kareem Hunt is not there now. Is that official?
He's still there.
He is still there.
He hasn't
Okay.
got traded yet. He might. I mean, he might or might not.
So yeah, not knowing what's happening there might make a difference. But to me, you can have so much more upside with some of the other guys that are picked right around there, that Nick Chubb just can be too much of a risk, or just not enough of the upside there. And with DeAndre Swift, Najee Harris, Alvin Kamara, we've talked about Kamara. I'd rather have him over Nick Chubb. Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Javonte Williams. I just feel like there's just so much more potential with some of those guys above Nick Chubb. It seems like there is a decent floor with Chubb, but I don't feel that there's as much of a ceiling this year. So don't take him with your first round pick. If he drops the second round, yeah, that might be worthwhile. But if you're taking your first round pick on Chubb, I think that you really got to hit the rest of your draft pretty well.
I think you're right. I don't think Brissett is that much of a downgrade from Mayfield, but I still agree with what you said.
True.
Yeah, Chubb I've nicknamed him Viagra because I have to take a pill to get a Chubb from him now, man. It's not like
working.
No, it doesn't work anymore.
I like that.
I don't really know how to follow that, but like, I agree though. Like he has really no ceiling. Like I don't think he can finish in the top 5 with the situation he's in with Hunt and their offense and quarterback. But he, like you said, he could be a solid number 2 guy. But Like you said, Ron's metaphor was perfect.
Any last thoughts? Any last fantasy advice? I guess this is the last time all of our fans are going to be watching us to get our fantasy advice.
They're going to be so sad.
We'll still check in throughout the season. So next week we're going to do some go over some bets, talk about some over unders, try to make Super Bowl picks, maybe look at some of the odds to try to give some advice on what to go for, what to avoid, and maybe pick some division winners, things like that. So that's our plan for next week. I'll admit I am not an expert in sports gambling, but we have a few addicts on this call that I think can help us through it. All right. Thank you guys.
Thanks,
Love you
Kyle.
all. You guys are sexy.
Oh.
See you
My
later.
God.
Yeah.